A safety feature is a feature that the manufacturer puts into the gun to help prevent accidental shootings typically, or to make the gun more safe to carry, and again, to prevent people from accidentally shooting themselves or other people or whatnot.
Without being right there on scene and watching a shooter, would you know whether or not they had the safety on or off prior to shooting?
No.
Okay. How many safeties are there on this particular firearm?
This firearm, it has a thumb safety, and it has two internal safeties called firing pin block, and it has a hammer intercept notch.
Okay. Do you consider the handle, the grip of this pistol to be fairly large, or is it typical for that 9mm Taurus?
It's, for me, being perhaps because I'm a female, I feel it's a little large, but it would again depend on the person who's using it, obviously.
What does it mean to fire this Taurus double action?
Double action is when, the best way to explain it probably is to show you. Single action mode is when the user pulls the hammer back so that it's in cocked position like it is now. If I pull it back myself or use the slide to pull it back, and now it's in this position and I pull the trigger, that's called single action because the trigger is just doing one thing, it's dropping the hammer. But if I don't pull the hammer back manually and I don't use the slide to pull it back, if the hammer's already down, and I was to pull the trigger and the trigger cocks the hammer and releases the hammer, that's called double action mode.
Does that affect the trigger pull when the shooter decides whether to fire it double action or single action?
Yes, that will affect the force that's required on the trigger to have the trigger pull and fall, and the hammer fall.
And what does it mean to fire this gun single action?
Again, single action would be if I manually cock the hammer or pull the hammer, cock the hammer with the slide.
Okay. And if you presume that the safety was on while this pistol was holstered, is that yet another step the shooter would have to take to get the gun in a ready to fire position?
Yes, it is.
Did you test fire this pistol?
Yes, I did.
Tell the jurors what type of test you performed.
When I first received the gun, I visually inspect it and see if it appears to be functioning properly, if it appears to be safe. I also will dry fire it, again, see if it appears to be functioning properly. At that point, if I deem it safe to test fire it, I take it into the range and I'll fire a couple shots into the water tank, and then I'll retrieve the bullets that I fired and the spent cartridge cases, and those will be what I use to make my comparisons.
Did you make note of in which direction the shell casings ejected from this firearm?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you make note that the shell casings do eject from this firearm?
Yes, I don't believe I had a...
No, it's okay if you don't know direction, but do they eject and fly outside of the gun when it's fired?
Yes, I didn't note that I had any problems with the ejection.
Okay. And can you give the jury a common example of what trigger pull means for a human being's finger?
Well, it's referring, again, to the amount of force, the amount that is required to pull the trigger back. So if the trigger pull is about 6 pounds, you're looking at 6 pounds of pressure on that trigger in the backwards direction. So it'd be like pushing something that weighed 6 pounds backwards towards you.
What is the trigger pull of this Taurus 9mm when fired single action?
In single action, it was approximately 6¼ pounds.
What is the trigger pull of this Taurus 9mm when fired double action?
Double action is approximately 13 pounds.
Once a round is chambered into this pistol, does the shooter still have to pull the trigger with at least 6.25 pounds of pull for each round fired?
Yes, approximately.
So if 10 shots have been fired from this specific pistol, does that mean with each shot, it's 6.25 pounds to pull that trigger?
Again, yes, approximately.
And does that differ from a fully automatic weapon where you pull the trigger once and the shots just keep going?
That's correct, yes.
So does this take a conscious effort of the shooter to have that second bullet come out?
I would say so. You have to activate your finger each time.
Okay. And a third bullet?
Yes, for each fire, you have to pull that trigger.
All the way up to 10 bullets?
Yes, however many are fired.
All right. You can resume the stand, please, ma'am. Do you have anything else for us? Do y'all have anything else? Judge, I have no further questions for Ms. Pagan.
Mr. Stroll.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Pagan, how are you
It's
today?
right there. I'm fine, thank you.
Did I hear you say that safety, and you could leave that right there, Angela. Can you come back down for me?
Sure.
Can you take the gun and put it back in the holster for me? Slide it in there best you can. I know there's some zip ties on there. You have it in backwards.